Evolution Power Tools have sent me this sort of review. It's the F210SMS. It replaces the Fury 3, and this saw is designed for a DIY or an enthusiast. It's a 210mm saw, which means it's an 8-inch saw basically. It's got a 1200 watt motor, and basically I think it's a big improvement on the old Fury 3. It's fitted with a laser so that you can line your cuts up accurately. Can cut mitres from 0 to 50 degrees on either side. The maximum cutting capacities are 230mm by 65mm for a cross cut. A mitre cut at the maximum angle of 50 degrees, 150mm by 65mm. For a cross cut with the bevel angle set at 45 degrees, 230 by 38mm. And for a compound cut, and I'm assuming this is 45 by 45 degrees, 150mm by 38mm. As far as I can see, there's no difference between the professional version and the enthusiast's version, other than the fact that this one has got a smaller motor. This obviously is cheaper than the more expensive professional version. This is the Rage blade, the 210mm Rage blade, and this is a 210mm Fury blade. This one's got 24 teeth and this one has got 20 teeth. The 4 extra teeth on the Rage blade will give you a better cut, but you won't notice an awful lot of difference. So let's start off by looking at the base. You can see we've got 0 to 50 degrees. It's got various stops. The first one is at 15 degrees. The second one is at 22.5 degrees. The next one is at 30 degrees. And then we've got 45 degrees, and then you can swing it further to 50 degrees. Underneath there's a little lever to change the position of the base. Slacken off the knob there, lift up the lever, and if you watch, that's what engages with the indentations. So once you're set up at the right angle, you just clamp it by tightening this knob. The saw comes supplied with a hold down clamp. Now this just fits into a pre-drilled hole at the back there. It's got a set screw to hold it in place. One good point is the design of this base here means that it will actually clamp tubing, which is quite handy. You can move that hold down clamp to either side, but unfortunately if it's on the right hand side of the saw as you're looking at it, it prevents the blade from coming right down to cut wood. And that's about as far around as you can have it. You can't bring it any further this way, otherwise it will catch the motor. So you can clamp wood with it, but it's a little bit awkward. One point that I will make, if you look on either side, you can see these indentations with holes in. Evolution sell extra clamps. They're not particularly expensive, they might be worthwhile looking at. They come out this way and then clamp pressing against a fence, and they're quite handy. So just before I show you this, I'll tell you that I've actually got the saw unplugged. I just want to show you the multi-purpose blade. Now it's called a multi-purpose blade because it will cut steel, aluminium, wood and plastic. When it says steel, it will cut mild steel, and it will cut mild steel up to 3mm. It will actually cut mild steel more than 3mm thick, either box section or plate, but it's designed to cut up to 3mm. You can cut wood and metal with it during the same job. It won't make any real difference to the blade at all. It is designed to cut everything. So as I said, this is the upgraded Fury 3, and one of the things that I love about these new saws is the head assembly. This is hard plastic, but it fits nicely in the hand. I prefer these horizontal handles. I don't like the pistol grips. I think this is a lot easier to use. The blade release is now a lever underneath. You just press that down and down goes the blade. It's much easier and more intuitive to use. And then if I put the blade down, and this is how you lock the blade in the down position with this pin here. Just look at the power button. It's virtually the full width of the handle. You can't miss it really. It's just brilliant, and your thumb just falls nicely in place for the release. So I love the way that this is set up now. It's way better than it was before. Also on the top there we've got the switch. This thing comes with a laser, and there's a switch there for the laser, so you can actually reach the laser switch without removing your hand from the handle. The table extensions are a new feature and a very welcome feature as well. I think they're very good. The fence at the top here has got a little nailed knob that you tighten it down with, and that slides out here so that if you're cutting a bevel angle, you can tilt the saw over and it won't contact the fence. That pin there is to allow you to cut cornices easily. If I put that pin across and then tilt the saw over until the pin engages at the bottom there, and there is an adjustment for it. If you look in there, it's actually set to 33.9 degrees. That's a very handy feature for kitchen fitters or anybody that's making furniture, that type of thing. The T-shaped handle is just way easier to use than the old L-shaped handle. That is really a joy compared to the old one. That cable wrap is brilliant. It is absolutely brilliant. It's so easy to just tidy up the machine, put it away. There's no cord dangling down to trip over or anything like that. It's a brilliant setup. Just demonstrate that pin again for raising and lowering the cutting head. One other point is just about everything you need to do on this saw you can do with this two-sided tool, which fits into a lovely little rubber grommet there that holds it in place, so it's always on the machine ready to use. I think that's a lovely point. And if we look at this on the side here, that's a depth stop. You adjust the depth using this nailed knob, and then this flips down. So if I push the saw down like so, you can see that that thread there is engaged on this stop and it's lifted the blade above the table. Now if I want to cut a channel or something like that on a piece of wood, then it allows you to do that. So let's just say that you're working on a job and you've cut a channel, but you want to leave that set up, but you also want to cut through some wood. All you've got to do is flip that little plate back, and then you've got the normal cut of the machine. You can also clamp the slide in place, so you could push it forward. I can't see any reason for doing that, but one thing that you might want to do is bring it all the way back and clamp it, so that it works just like a normal mitre saw, not a sliding mitre saw. And it's handy for when you're carrying it around. I do like the square knobs on these machines. I think they're way better than the round ones. Now one thing I will say is that this machine has got a lovely solid feel to it. There's no play in it whatsoever. The slide is lovely and smooth. There's no sideways play in that. It's a very nicely made machine. So let's start off by cross-cutting this piece of wood. This is 120mm by 45mm, and we'll go for a 90-degree cut. Doesn't come much better than that, 89.9. So next we'll go for wood with nails, which is something that these multi-purpose blades are famous for. Basically means that you don't need to worry about any nails left in any rough wood if you're stripping pallets down, that type of thing. This thing will just go straight through them. No problem at all for this blade. Piece of 3mm mild steel box section. Before I cut this, I must emphasise that you need to wear glasses when you're doing this. And just look at that. You know, you can pick it straight up and work with it. It's cool to the touch. That is a lovely cut. And again, these blades are just brilliant for anybody that does multitasking when it comes to construction. You know, metal, plastic, wood, anything like that, and these things will cope with it. Now, I'm not going to cut anything else, but I will put the wood through again just so that you can see that cutting the steel has not affected the blade adversely. So we'll put that back on. Just look at that. Brilliant. These machines are so versatile. The Evolution F210SMS sliding mitre saw. Now I think this is a smashing piece of kit. As I showed you earlier, it's basically the R210SMS with a smaller motor. So it's a few pounds less. I'd be quite happy to have this in my workshop, but it would just have to get in line with all my other Evolution saws as well. This is perfect for anybody that's into DIY, or wants to just dabble with a bit of woodwork or metalwork for that matter, because it saves you loads of time. The multi-purpose blades that Evolution produce are just phenomenal when it comes to what they can do. So if you are thinking of buying this saw, I don't think you'll go wrong with it. It's a fine saw. This thing will cope with just about anything that you throw at it. Yet again, it's another fine saw to add to their catalogue. Very impressed. I hope you found this review useful, and thank you for watching.